Hey everybody, this is Al here with iCarry.cc, and thanks for joining me today, and I hope that you will hit the subscribe button and also the bell ringer, be alerted when new episodes come up, and I would like to share those with you, and I hope you enjoy them. Today, what I'm going to do is share with you why I am a Glock fan. Now, don't get all bent out of shape, because I don't think that there are other good guns out there. That's not true. There are a lot of great firearms out on the market today. But I just want to share with you my opinion why I like the Glocks better than the others. Now, if you have another firearm, one that I may mention here, or another particular firearm that you have and that you like, and it works all the time, hey, stick with it. It doesn't mean that you have to change. You can have more than one, which is awesome. But before I get into why I'm such a Glock fan, and I'll point out some reasons why, I want to point out some other good ones that you might enjoy, you might like, and that you could try out, and also some that I would just stay away from, and I'll tell you why. So the first one I'd like to point out to you is the Smith & Wesson SD9. This gun is great. I mean, I'll tell you why. It's so much like a Glock 19, it's not even funny. And I'll also say that Glock wound up suing Smith & Wesson. Again, this gun is great. I've got a light on here, so, and it is empty. Okay, let me give you some features about this gun that I like. First of all, it feels really good in the hand. It is very, very reliable. It looks a lot like a Glock, and once again, thus the lawsuit. The only thing that I don't like as much about it is the trigger. The trigger is probably about 8 pounds. It's hard. Thus, the title of the gun, SD, for self-defense. It's really meant to be used intentionally, if you will. If you know that you're in a life-threatening situation, it's going to be a little harder to pull that trigger and make you think twice, I guess. But like I say, it is a little, it's about 8 pounds, I think, maybe a little more, but I don't like it. I bought an Apex trigger to replace this one. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. And I find that on this one, I'm not as accurate as I am on my Glock because of the hard trigger pull. And I would say that this one is really more for close distance shooting as opposed to long distance shooting. Again, I'm usually a pretty decent shot, but with this one, I'm not as good on the long distance part of it. But I want to tell you something. This thing is very reliable. Have not had one hiccup out of it. It would be a great carry gun, and I do highly recommend it. I like it a lot. Another benefit is that this one is about $150 to $200 less than a Glock 19. So if you're looking to save some money but want to get something that is as close as a Glock as possible, this would be an ideal one. Other ones I want to mention that I don't have here on the table with me are the Springfields. They are excellent guns. I don't really particularly like how they feel in my hand to me, but they are very good and very reliable, and I think that you might be happy with those. Here's the thing about firearms. Don't ever purchase a firearm until you go to the range and rent one for cheap and try it out, see how it feels. But the number one thing to keep in mind regarding a firearm is the reliability factor. You want it to go bang every time. Another one that's really good is the Shadow Systems, Shadow Arms. They're made here in the Plano area. And the nice thing about those guns, I don't know a ton about them, but just a little bit. They are very reliable. They're very good. I have shot one before. And the nice thing is that pistol takes Glock magazines. Isn't that crazy? They are a bit pricey, though. Let me talk for just a moment about Tauruses. I'm going to start with the 22 first, the TX22. I'm going to tell you that this gun is really, really good. I mean, it's great. It's kind of got the feel of a full-size. Ergonomically, it feels good in the hand. It just feels great. The trigger is awesome. Get a load of this. That trigger is very nice. The reset on it, when you pull back, the reset is good. Let me give you a couple of things. Now, reliability, this thing shoots just about any kind of 22 ammo you can put in it. It's really good. It has a 16 round magazine, which I like that a lot. 16 plus 1 in the chamber, 17. So they're very good. They shoot very, very well. And there's a couple of things that bug me about it, okay? Number one, I've noticed that the pin, the slide pin right there, okay? For some reason on mine, it has a tendency to want to try to work its way, not out, but not stay in there. Like say here, you see the pin, look at the dimple on this side. So I usually have to get a nail and tap that in. I just kind of keep my eye on it, and I'll have to tap that in to make sure it stays in there. You see this screw right here? This comes off, and you can put a suppressor on it. What I'm finding is that unless you put Loctite on there to make that thing stay, this thing will wiggle its way off. So you've got to be real careful about that and just watch that. Keep your eye on that. So these run about, I don't know, the price varies, $280. It's very reasonable on the price. Speaking of Taurus, let me give you some other information that you probably do not know, you do not have, and you're going to hear it the first time right here. The model G3s, they have a full size. I don't have it because I had 3 and I sold them all. I got rid of them. Let me tell you why I did that. They also make the G3C for compact. So it's a smaller version. I'm throwing pictures up on the screen so you can see them. Here's the deal. All of the reviews that you will find on YouTube about the G3s and the G3Cs are all shot with target rounds. They're all shot with target rounds. From that standpoint, it's perfect. There are no flaws whatsoever shooting target rounds in it. I, myself, as well as another relative of mine who purchased a couple of these guns because they were like $250. They were like inexpensive, crazy inexpensive. He was going through some training. Halfway through the training, the 3-day program, a couple of days in, it was shooting all target rounds. And then they put self-defense rounds in there, and it locked up and jammed almost every time. They changed out the rounds to put in the different brands of self-defense rounds, and it kept locking up. It would not feed. It would not go up the feed ramp. That's a problem. Taurus is going to have to deal with that and figure out what the issue is, because who carries target ammo for self-defense? You need to be carrying hollow points for self-defense. And if the hollow points don't work and they're jamming and messing up, you're in trouble. So you just need to be aware of that. I would not purchase one until they got that fixed. Now, what about revolvers? You know, the little small Smith & Wesson or the Ruger, the light ones, the ones that are really light. You know, oh, that feels good. It's so light, you know, so light. Let me warn you, don't be fooled by the lightness of it, because those things kick like a mule. And they're not fun to practice with at the range, because especially if it's a 38 or a 38 or a 357, I'm telling you, those things kick, and they kick really uncomfortably. Revolvers are fine. The only thing I don't like about them is that they mostly only have 5 rounds in them, so it's not very many. You could use this as a backup gun. That would be great to have. Here are some others that I would avoid. I've talked about the ones that were good. I did mention about the Tauruses, the G3s. Others I would avoid are the Kahrs, K-A-H-R. I don't care anything about those. They're too hard to slide. They're not reliable. Another to avoid that I don't like and I've seen people have trouble with are the SCCYs. That's S-C-C-Y. They're inexpensive, but I'm just telling you, when you buy a cheap gun, you're going to get what you pay for the most part. So another one that I don't really particularly care about okay, is the high points. Okay, the high points are ugly. They are ugly. This is a 45 that I have that I got from a relative a long time ago. This thing looks like an alien head. I mean, it's just ugly. It's all get out. All right. Now, they are cheap. They're inexpensive. They're heavy. They're bulky. Again, this is a 45. I don't hardly shoot it at all. I just have it. And, you know, they work now. They've been through torture tests. These things will go through torture tests and they'll still wind up shooting. The other thing I don't like about them, besides the fact that they're ugly, and they don't really, you know, they're kind of cheap, but they work. I'm glad for that. They do work. Is that they're very difficult to take apart and clean. And guns have to be, you know, maintained and cleaned. And it's an act of Congress to get this thing apart and to keep it clean. So I do want to point out one other 22 caliber I'm going to talk about the Glock in a minute, but I want to point out the Ruger SR22. The Ruger SR22 is a good little handgun, okay? If you're looking for something just fun to shoot, but also self-defense, I mean, listen, I don't poo-poo anyone who wants to carry a 22 for self-defense, okay? Again, as I've said before in my previous videos, criminals are stupid and they don't know what calibers are, and they can't look at that barrel and tell if that's a 22 or a 9mm. All they probably don't want to do is get hit with a rock going 818 miles an hour, okay, no matter what size it is, because it is going to hurt. But it shoots great. It's reliable. It shoots just about all the ammo that I've ever put in it. So this is a SR22, and I do recommend this one. I do. I like it a lot. Now let me move to why I love the Glocks. Some people don't like them. They've got their reasons, and it's totally okay. Remember, as I said earlier, the number one thing that you want to look for in a firearm is reliability. I want to know that that thing is going to go bang just about all the time. And Glocks are like that. I kind of joke and tease about this, but you can take a Glock and you can take it and throw it in a river and come back 2 months later and dredge that thing up, just dig it up and just sling the mud off of it and pow, 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 pow. Just keep shooting. They are work animals. And when you're wanting a gun or firearm for protection, you do not want one that is 80 or 90% reliable. It's not worth it, okay? No matter how cheap you got it. Glock has a ton of different models. The first one that Mr. Glock invented was the 17, the model 17, the G17. Now that's holds 17 rounds, but that's not why it's called a Glock 17. It's called a 17 because this was his 17th patent. He was a mechanical engineer years ago, and he made, I think, door hinges and knives for the Austrian Army. He made bayonets for the Austrian Army. Long story short, he wanted to try to build a handgun for the Glock, for the Austrian Army, and because they were looking for something that was new and reliable and so forth. And so he and his team of experts went to work on it and came up with the Glock 17. Now this is the Gen 4 model that I have, and but the Gen 1 obviously is older, but this is Gen 4, and I've got a True Glow light and a laser on here, which is good. Okay, and incidentally, my serial number, if you see it right there, is 007. Can you believe that? Okay, so this is a fantastic gun, super reliable. It's a full-size gun, all right, and it shoots like a charm. Trigger is not hard. It's about 5 pounds, as I said earlier, and it's got a good reset on it, right there. Okay. Hey, another benefit about having a Glock, the nice thing is that if you have a Glock 19, you can take a Glock 17 magazine that I just pulled out. Now you have a Glock 17. Isn't that cool? This is the Glock 43. This one is kind of like taking the Glock 19, okay? Take the Glock 19. Take the Glock 19. Throw it in the dryer for 30 minutes and come back and you got this one. Like it's shrunk. All right. So I'll try to show you as best I can without pointing it at the screen here. So there it is. It's shorter, but the thing about it is it's narrower, so it's slimmer. A lot of people like to carry this. People say, well, I don't like Glock because it doesn't have a safety on it. Well, it does. It's got 3, actually 4. I'll tell you what they are. Revolvers don't have safeties either. So, but the Glocks do. Let me show you real fast. I'm going to show you where they are. Number 1, it's got a trigger safety. Now, if you look right here, you'll see that tiny little tongue right there. See that little tongue thing? That's the trigger safety. This trigger will not engage until the front of that thing is pushed in. So that's your trigger safety. All right. The second safety, see that round dot right there? That is called the striker fire safety. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. I'm just going to give you the scaled down version. That right there basically is a a stop point for the firing pin. The bullet's over here, firing pin's here. So that what that round thing does is when you pull the trigger, it slides down, bang, comes back up. You pull the trigger, slide down, bang. It's like that. So it's a trigger pin or firing pin stopper is what it is, like a stop sign. Third safety is, and you cannot see it, okay, if you go look at an animation of how a Glock works, you can find it. But just in a nutshell, there's a safety back here, and you can't see it, but it's called the drop safety. So that if a Glock ever drops, it won't go off. I've seen one drop like 300 or 400 feet out of a helicopter, and it landed on the tarmac. It didn't go off, and the guy picks it up, bah, 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 and shoots it. So what's the fourth safety? The fourth safety is this. Keep your dang finger off the trigger. That's your safety right there. So what I do is, if I take my firearm out, all right, I always take out the holster, and then I will put the firearm in, and then I will put it all back. That way I know that trigger is covered the whole time, and it's not going to go off, because you know, firearms don't go off by themselves. Something typically activates that trigger, and it's usually a finger or a shirt or something else. Now, there are other guns that also have, they don't have manual safeties on them. Like say Springfield, there are models that don't have it. Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. Some of them have safety, some of them do not, because some people don't like them on there as far as a manual safety. Okay, so let me summarize the reasons real quick why I like the Glocks, just in bullet points here. I like them because their reliability is off the chart. Another reason is there's so many different calibers and models to fit your needs. The other thing is modifications and enhancements are easy with the Glock. But I do like the fact that it's got 3 safeties on it, plus the one that you have on your hand. They're also very easy to clean and take apart. Let me show you real quick again. If you want to take it apart and clean it, you're just kind of doing this. Okay, you pull down this little spring lever here. When you pull that down, you let go of it, squeeze the trigger in a safe direction. It was already squeezed. You take it off, and then you got these 3 parts here. You got the barrel, the spring, and basically 4 pieces to clean and maintain. It's real super easy to do that. There's no levers to turn. When you put it back on, when you put the slide back on, I always call it the train, put the train back on the tracks. When you do this, you're done. It's just all ready to go. So it's super easy to clean. I do like that part about it too, and to take apart. I like the consistency across all the models with the trigger, because the trigger is pretty much the same on all the models. They can even function when they're dirty. I mean, you could go 500 rounds through this thing and not even clean it, and the thing still shoots. And the last thing is that it's not overpriced. It's very reasonable. You get them anywhere from $500 to $650. It just depends on what model and what color and stuff like that is. So again, I'm not trying to sell you a Glock or, you know, have you think, oh, I gotta get a Glock now. Look, if you've got something you like, stick with it. Just as long as that thing is reliable and it does the job. Practice a lot, go to the range, go outside. If you're in the country, set up some targets and practice shooting, practice the skills, and try to do your best at maintaining a skill level that your muscle memory kicks in, and it just kind of becomes natural for you. So anyway, that's kind of it. That's all I wanted to share, why I'm a Glock fan. I pointed out some others that are very good, and I pointed out some that I would totally steer away from. But for the most part, like I say, for me, I love this thing, and it works like a charm for me. And so if you have any other questions, you can make a comment there below, or you can shoot me an email at iCarry.cc@gmail.com. And my website is www.concealedcarrytx.com. I do a lot of pistol training across the Metroplex and the DFW area. I do license to carry training online. So if you have any questions, please contact me. I just want to thank you again for your time. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.